record on this YouTuber video. Did I tell you we're going to be on YouTube?
No, is it live on YouTube?
Yeah, we're not live on YouTube, but it goes on YouTube. You look a damn sight better than me with this bloody. I've booked myself in for my first haircut on Friday.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting mine done on Saturday, but actually mine not too bad at the minute.
Mine is horrendous. I've been hacking away at it in the bathroom, and I've decided to just go proper short with it. So by the time this comes out, I will have no hair left. It doesn't look like I've got any hair, but it's down to me fucking waist. So it's going. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Anyway, what an intro to the Zoom call. Discussing our hair and our grooming, which are tying quite nicely. Because why don't you tell people who you are, Anna?
Yeah, I am Anna Pollard from the Doghouse Canine Spa. We're based in Syston in Leicestershire. Well, we've just moved to Syston. Moved a whole 2 miles down the road. So we're now in a town centre behind the vets. So yeah, cool. In a nutshell, that is us.
So yeah, what sort of grooming do you do? Is it all sorts? Are you a specialist in something? Do you?
Yeah, so we've gone down sort of the puppy route, so introducing puppies to being groomed. We have like a 4-week puppy package, which ideally we ask clients to take over 4 consecutive weeks, so that we can just get to know the puppy, especially at the minute. People have just been stuck at home with their dogs, and for that first session at the minute, we're just sat on the floor, letting the puppy come up to us, let them have a sniff, try and make sure they don't go too close to prim. And doing some like get a bit of free work going, have a sniff about. They generally go to the toilet just because they're so tiny still. And yeah, it's just getting them used to coming to see us, realising that it's not a bad thing, and then we build it up over the weeks. So sort of by week 4, we've introduced the sounds of clippers, scissors, the hairdryer, the bath, because the bath can be quite noisy and slippy, and it only has to be like a bit too cold and the puppy's like, oh my god, get me out of here. So I tend to bath the puppies now in a bucket, so I have a bucket in my bath, and then you can hold them constantly. If they're small enough, I wouldn't do it like a newfie puppy. They would have to be in the bath, and kind of lower them in. Yeah, no, it's like a big balance. We have one newfie, bless him, he's enormous, like he just fits in the bath. And we take the front off and we go, come on Angus, and he walks down the salon, turns himself around and legs it down, jumps in, stands there.
That's handy.
He's a ledge, and he gets out and he goes straight on the table, stands there, and he's the only newfie we have, and it's because he's so just chilled and loves it, stands there. Yeah, has a few breaks, has some snacks with us, gets back on the table. He's just such a big cuddly bear. We have to have puppy pads down for his dribble, but but yeah,
and the newfie dribble.
I know, it's such a glamorous job. And client said to me the other day, actually, she said, because we've had a dog that's come to us for years, but he's been really, really poorly, and she's not been able to get her to us for about 18 months, and his coat's completely changed, and he was never the biggest fan of being groomed, so she came in like masks on, all the PPE, all the treats that he could have, but he will not let us touch his front legs, and his cockapoo needs to be done. So she held him and I clipped them, but he has to keep going to the vets for his blood test, so he's really funny about his legs being touched. And she was like, do people realise that as a groomer you spend a lot of time like crawling around on the floor with dogs? I was like, no, people think we just play with puppies and it's really nice. I said, this is the other end of it.
I love that you do that that intro to the salon, because it's like, I've done a little bit of grooming in the past, but it's very, very brief, and it's kind of, it was almost a little bit like I hate to say it, but a little bit like what's that, you know, where they come down on the line, one in, one out,
like a conveyor belt. Yeah,
belt, that's the one. And whilst I'm not really painting a good picture of the kennels, it wasn't that bad, but it was rushed on our part because it was part of the kennels, and you know, you've only got a certain amount of time, haven't you? And I guess you see that in the same with like vets and other groomers as well. So I remember you saying, we're doing this thing where we just let the dogs come in and mooch and chill, and I really love that because it really helps, doesn't it?
Definitely. And like, it's, when you think of grooming, it's such an unnatural thing for a dog to have to go through. Like, I can remember when I first started grooming, I was shocked at the amount of Labradors that came in to be groomed, because I've grown up with labs and they just used to have a bath in the garden. And I was just like, these dogs come in to get groomed. And actually the gun dogs, generally don't like being up high on a table and don't really like being groomed, considering they're like happy to go out in the field and be shot over and everything else and hear everything going on. My dad's labs, God, a nightmare in the salon. I just literally give them a bath towel, dry them and let them go. I'm like, Dad, go, take them. But yeah, it's really important, and it's such a big environment. There's like the different smells, different sounds, even different floor. Like so many dogs don't like a slippier floor, and although we've gone for like a grippier lino, it's almost safety floor. A lot of dogs haven't experienced that if they live in a carpeted house. And that's the thing, when you explain it to people and they go, oh, well, I'll just drop my dog off and pick it back up, and you're like, well, there's a lot that goes into that, and a lot of dogs don't like hoovers or hair dryers, similar sort of noise, and a lot of people blow hair dryers at their dogs as part of a game. And you see the videos on TikTok and on YouTube and on Instagram, and you see these videos where dogs are like being chased with a hairdryer, and then they're like, oh, well, why won't my dog be dried at the groomers? And I'm like, well, we need to like build that association, make it positive, and you do need to do the work at home. I feel like a stuck record because I'm always like, what have you done at home? But introducing it, you need so much space, and you need whatever time you think and space you think, you need more. And even like with my own dogs, I thought Prim would be like the best salon dog in the world. She really isn't. I love her, absolutely love her, and she's a sidekick and she comes with me every day. But it was because of Prim that we bought in the puppy package and the introduction. So I collected her from the Dogs Trust at 16 weeks old. She hadn't been outside, hadn't seen the world, nothing. Had just come across, smuggled in a crate, ate her own poo, laid in her own poo. So first night she was happy in a crate, went straight in a crate, sleep, pooed on herself, slept in it all night, smelled great. The next morning I was like, oh, how do I get this off? I was like sponging it off, and Joe was like, we can't get away with that, she stinks. And I was like, I don't want to take her to the salon yet, I don't want to put her in the bath. And I was like, I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet because she was disgusting. And I did. And she had a meltdown, she cried, I cried. I was just like, oh my God, this is horrendous. And even now she's a bit like, I'll only get in the bath if there's chicken and cheese. And she'll know, and it's weird. I must do something where slightly differently when it's Prim's turn for a bath, because she'll sit there like, what am I getting paid for doing this?
Oh, yeah.
And you see this like, but she'll sit on the table happily, and with some of the bigger puppies that are having, she tends to sit next to them on the table, and she loves being blasted. We have a little German Shepherd called Elsa who came to us as a puppy, and she sat on the table quite happily with Prim being blasted.
Okay. That's good.
So it's, yeah, she's quite a good nanny dog for the bigger dogs, not so good with the smaller ones, but she just goes and sleeps when they're in.
She can't be expected to like them all, can she?
No, it's like humans, we don't like everyone, do we? Some dogs she loves, some dogs she's like, I'd rather not love you.
I only had it the other week with Lily, and Lily, you know, well, you don't know her, I'd guess, but you've seen her working, and she's like super focused, super keen. And we had this golden doodle in for training, and I don't think she knew what he was, Anna, to be fair. He was like in that stage where, well, you told, yeah, he had to like lift his head back to see, so you could imagine how he was. And I think she thought it was like a sheep on stilts, but you know that response where she's just like, what is it? Anyway, she didn't take to him at all. She was like, no, don't like this. I was like, okay, cool, but you know, they can't be expected to like everything and everyone, can they?
It's funny you say that. Prim's like it with my friend's Dalmatians. She was like, it's got spots on it, what is it? And she sat behind me and like kept poking out from behind my leg, and Finn was like, I want to play. And she was like, I don't know if I do, like this dog looks a bit strange.
Which button do I press it off?
Yeah. She was like,
It's funny, isn't it? So coming on to this, so when like there's loads I want to talk to you about, but more so like we're coming out of lockdown. I mean, talking of my hair, I've just been hacking away at it, and it needs doing. And so I imagine you've seen a lot of dogs that have been in a similar sort of setup. What kind of things are you seeing more of?
Yeah, so lots of separation anxiety, like through the roof level of separation anxiety.
In the salon?
Yeah, in the salon, just leaving their owners. From owners as well. So this is something that owners do. They go, don't worry, baby, love you, be back in 5 minutes. Don't, go on, good dog, good dog, good dog. And the dog goes, oh, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why are you saying that to me? Do I need to move this way? What am I doing? Where am I going? And then they'll go, go on, it won't be long, it won't be long. And like, it's obviously the change in obviously the owner's emotion.
Yeah.
And we're really like, I'm really bad for it as well. I'm like, what is it called when you turn your dogs into humans? Like,
anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I know the
That
word.
word.
Yeah, anthropomorphizing, yeah, well, that one.
Yeah. And I'm really bad for doing it, but as a breed of humans, we're awful for doing it for our dogs. And like pushing that onto your dog, and then if your dog has to come in and have a shave down, which we're seeing a lot of because it's the safest and kindest way to get rid of matted coats, when the dog's then picked up, they go, oh my God, what's happened to you? And then the dog goes, oh my God, what has happened to me? It's awful here. And then you're building that sort of, not a negative cycle, but there's better ways of, and we've found that when we were at our old premises particularly, we were going out to collect dogs and get them from the car rather than them coming towards us. And I hate it when dogs are like, oh, I don't want to come in, because you feel like, oh, the dog really doesn't enjoy it here.
Yeah.
But we go and pick them up from the car, go, come on then, time to go. In we go. And we walk off really confidently with us, and the dog goes, okay, I'll come with you. And walk straight into the salon. And we've recorded it for a few owners and been like, look, everything's okay. They're absolutely fine here. But it's that handover of the owner going, oh, I don't know if they do like it. And the dog going, I think there's something I need to be worried about.
Looking and worrying, and the dog picking up on that. It's a big thing. And I think it's coming out as being such a big thing more and more now on handler to dog emotions. So that's interesting that you've seen that.
Yeah,
on that.
Massive difference. And I think now we're at a vet's as well, some dogs are like, oh, that next building, I've been there when I hurt myself. So we just need to go back and make it sort of a positive reintroduction to us, to leaving their parents, to everything. But a lot of dogs are walking in quite happily. So
brilliant. You spoke a little bit there about matting and taking the coat off. I have not shown you Digger yet, have I? Maybe I'll tag a little clip of my attempt at 7effing Digger. Do you want to tell people a little bit more about the issues with matting and like people will know that the odd knot will kind of need brushing out and stuff, but do you want to dive into it a little bit more because it's
massive. Yeah, it's a massive thing. And people like, and this is the other thing with dogs, it's a really fine line between we're getting a dog and a dog is a dog to I want a teddy bear. And we're seeing a lot of that, and it's I want my dog to look like a teddy bear, without thinking of what goes into maintaining your dog, what means that they can look like a teddy bear, and what means they still need to be a dog. So we've seen so many disgusting dirty bottoms since lockdown. It's quite gross, and you get in your clippers and you're like, oh. So there's that part of things where we need to think that dogs are dogs, and we need to look at their lifestyle and how that fits in with the coat style that you want. So people say, I want my dog to be long and shaggy, really like the curly look, don't like the look of necessarily like being poodled or having the straight coat, which happens when you're drying a coat. So when you're drying a coat, you're stretching it and drying it to make it straight so that you can get any knots out, but so then you can clip evenly. So if owners really don't like the sort of straighter look, we can spritz with water and then the curl will come back. It'll come back a day or two afterwards anyway, but you can actually be quite deceptive with a curlier coat and have it shorter, but it still looks quite shaggy. And I think a lot of people think it needs to be long and curly, but the longer a coat is, the more regularly you need to come. You need to be looking at every 3 to 4 weeks if you want a really long coat, because it needs to be mat free, which means you need to be able to get your brush and your comb. I don't have one to hand, sorry, I'm not that organised. You need to be able to get it all the way from the root to the tip of your dog, all over your dog. Doesn't mean you need to do it all in one session, because that's quite a lot of brushing for the dog. But you could do like one leg one day, one leg another day. Tend to find the friction areas are the places that are the worst. So tends to be feet and legs, because they get washed off after a walk and then they get rubbed with a towel rather than patted and brushed. So feet, where harnesses go, obviously armpits, collars all around here, needs brushing. Generally a place that isn't very easy to brush, because dogs are a bit fidgety. Same with feet, tails and bottoms as well, need lots of brushing. I know it's gross. And also here, we love fussing our dogs around their heads, and we tickle their heads and we tickle here and we go, oh, smush around here. But all of this, once that's matted, there's no way you're going to brush it out. And then that needs to be shaved off, or 7F, like you said, which is generally the blade that we use.
That's a brilliant term, isn't it? Get it
Yeah,
off.
it is. 7F special, we call it. And then we're like, quick, we wish we had a back door.
For anyone listening, that is like the blade that takes them to the bone. Yeah, it's just get it off and get it done, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's because it will go under most mats. If you're really badly matted, you go down to a 10, and that's like not good.
I did that once by mistake. I was like, oh shit, that is the wrong blade. Like,
Yeah.
right. Oh, sorry, carry on.
And it's where and we've all done it. We've switched blades or something from a comb guard back to, and you've gone like a 10 down the dog's back, and you're like, oh my god, that's a free groom.
Yeah.
So yeah, the reason you use a short blade like that is because it goes underneath the mats to brush out a level of matting that would take more than 15 minutes is a welfare issue, and it will cause things like brush burn, clipper rash, can cause all sorts of things. And it's like having your hair, when you take mats off, it's like having your hair up in a really tight bubble all day and then taking it down, and then you have like really bad. When I used to dance, mum used to do my hair, like scrape it all back, and then at the end of the day I'd be like, oh thank god my scalp can breathe, there's blood back to it. So a lot of owners don't like it when you have to shave their dog off, which is understandable because it can change their features, but it's a case of needs must, and it's not something to worry about because it happens generally once in their lifetime for a doodle. Because it's just part of the learning process for the owner and for the dog, and there's a misconception between what breeders say as well. So a lot of breeders will say don't get your dog groomed until it's 6 months. And they're not saying don't take it to the groomers. They might be saying we recommend that you don't clip this dog's coat until it's 6 months. Realistically, I would say 99% of the dogs in this country are pets, so you're not going to stick it in a show ring. The people that you see at Crufts have spent thousands of pounds and lots of years and lots of blood, sweat and tears to get there. So bringing a puppy, a picture of can you remember that Westie that won a few years back?
Yes.
Looked absolutely amazing. So we get I want my Westie to look like this, and realistically your Westie's got skin issues and doesn't like being groomed. We've got to be realistic as well. But yeah, I love that little Westie.
Fit me on the grooming table was a Westie.
Yeah.
I tell a lie, there was a Russian Black Terrier as well, but the Westies, you guarantee when a Westie came in, we'd be like, where's the muzzles? Sorry.
Two problems. They do. So they won't mind me telling this story because they're both really good friends of mine. And they've had a Westie puppy and they've brought him to me from day dot. And he's the cutest little thing. He's the hairiest Westie I've ever met. And he's had problems with his ears, so standard Westie issue. And he doesn't like the clippers near his ears, which is understandable. So I changed the angle a bit, scissor a bit. And every other time I've been able to do it, bar the time before last, I couldn't finish him. And I was like, I don't want to muzzle him because it doesn't feel right. He's never been muzzled before. So I sent him away. I was like, look, I'm not going to charge you. One side of his face was like this, the other was like this. And all credit to them, they've been away over lockdown. They've got him better in the bath. They've got him used to being handled. He's had so many treats. And they came back after lockdown. I look like a fibber. His owner stayed with me. I went to school with her and she was like, are you sure he was bad? And I was like, yeah, I really am. But he sat there with all his chicken.
Perfect.
Different dog.
Yeah.
So it just shows that when the work goes in, I suppose you see it with training as well, when the work goes in, then the results do come out the other end.
It's like anything, isn't it? And it's just taking that little bit of time to not only make your life easier, because let's face it, it's not nice being snapped at and bitten, but it's not nice for the dog who's getting stressed out, worried, and learning that reaction gets people to back off. It's so fair play to them.
Absolutely.
Because it's win-win all around, isn't it? And to be honest, I think when people really get into training and start seeing that the dog is happier. Who doesn't want to do that for the dog?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
it's like they're a part of the family at the end of the day. Especially, I know people listen to this, mainly barking dogs, but you get barking in there as well, don't you? And
Oh god, yeah. Oh, you should hear Cody when he's in. So Cody can only come in on days where there's no one else in or no
right.
one going to walk past. And I said to Joe, my other half, so Cody is very much Joe's dog. I said to Joe during lockdown, I said, look, let's take him over to the salon together, get him chilled out. Oh my, it's 10 times worse with Joe there. And every time Joe moved, he was like, oh, where are you going? And Joe went to the toilet and Cody was like, right, I'm off the table, mum, see ya. So, but take him in on his own. I mean, we can't dry his front legs, we've never been able to, and I don't mind him a bit damp, I just don't want him ridiculously hairy.
Well, I guess as well, like he's a shorter coated breed, isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite a short haired shepherd, so I don't mind just towel drying his legs. And you tend to find that as dogs get older as well, they become more reactive to being groomed. So your groom will change over your dog's lifetime. Even with Paddy, for example, he was the reason I got into grooming in the first place, because I wanted to be able to hand strip him. I think I hand stripped him once. He became really allergic to something one summer, lost most of his coat. He's still got, I think they call it stud tail, don't they? On the violet gland on their tail. He's got a completely bald tail still. Had a really bad reaction to something one summer, was really allergic, lost all of his coat and had to clip him. But now he gets bathed one day, we put his drying robe on, and then he gets clipped the next.
Okay.
Unless there's someone in there to feed him like the best treats, because he can't handle the noise of the dryers anymore. And being stood on the table for a long time, it's not really a long time for a terrier, but it's an hour and a half of him being stood still when actually he'd rather be asleep. So yeah, you learn to adapt to the grooms as dogs get older and less steady on their legs. So we used to do a gorgeous big spaniel, and he'd just come in for a clip off, and he'd lay there, and then we'd roll him over, him and his mum, we'd roll him over and he'd clip the other side. And then when he was done, he'd just get up and walk off. And you know, he didn't look brilliant, but he was happy and he was comfortable, and he was a lot cooler. So
that's what it's about, isn't it? Making sure that that mindset's right and that the dog is happy.
Yeah.
And
it's looking at the whole thing as well. So like for Cody, he doesn't like traveling, so to get him to the salon, it's quite a big deal. He makes it a big deal, and we tried everything to get him more used to the car. And now we've got one of the trans canine crates, which he will stand in. He'll still sing and cry a little bit as he's traveling, but that and the groom and the journey home is quite a stressful day for him. Yeah, and you're stacking all of that up. So I tend to say to people that have dogs that really, really don't like traveling, it's best to get a mobile groomer to come to your house, because you're taking out part of it that's going to tip them over the edge. And like with Codes, we can't take him to the beach for the day. If we're taking him to the beach, we have to go for like 3 or 4 days, so that we travel on day one, we stop at Sandringham Woods and have a blast in the woods, and then we take him to the cottage. Then the next day we'll spend on the beach. But to get him in a car for 2.5 hours to then play on the beach all day to come home, he won't chill out, whereas Prim will sleep there and back. He's constantly on the go, and you get home and he's just like crawling out of the car.
Exhausted from stress as well, and not just that tiredness.
Yeah, and it's the stress that you put on them. And we find a lot of people as well, the other thing is exercising their dogs before the walk. So we like dogs to have had a toilet break before they come to us. But it's a fine balance, like you say. If you've got a reactive dog and you're taking it out for a walk and it sees another dog and it's kicking off, and then you're adding something else to it, and then you go into the groomers, you're like, your dog's up here to be groomed, and really you want them down here so that when they finish grooming, they might be here. So it's a hard one. It's a really, really fine line.
It is looking at everything, isn't it? And I can I just pull you back a little bit
of course you can.
Onto this teddy cut, because when you mentioned the teddy cut, like I would be very surprised if I didn't watch the replay back and my eyes rolled, because like it looks cute, doesn't it? And I want to talk to you about that grooming show that was on. What was it called?
Pooch Perfect.
Pooch Perfect. What did you think to that? Because I watched 10 to 15 minutes of it, and I'm sure it was brilliant. But the first thing I saw was the whole teddy cut thing. Do you think that's influenced people wanting to, I mean, like the whole dog population itself has been influenced because a lot of people got dogs in lockdown, doesn't it? Do you think that played?
Yeah. I thought, like, personally, from a grooming perspective, I thought it was brilliant because it showed exactly what went into grooming a dog and how long it took. Like, those grooms are outstanding as well. Like, it's very rare. Well, I won't be able to do it. Like, I can do a version of.
I watched
we're talking like, we're talking like top people in the industry who are like shit hot at it all. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Of course you are. Fuck it.
Cool. I just realised I'm half an hour in and I think I've sworn twice. You'll have to put it on explicit or something.
Don't worry about that.
Good. I did think it's you. I really liked it, and I think it showed exactly how much went in. And a lot of clients said to me, "You could be on this," and I'm like, "No, I really couldn't." But they also said, like, "Wow, I didn't understand that much went into it." And the dogs that are on there were carefully selected as dogs that were happy to be groomed. Obviously, they had really high standards of welfare. I think there was a little bit of educational stuff missing from it, but then it's got to be made for TV. It's got to be made fun and entertaining. You'll notice as well that all of the dogs, when they were being assessed or groomed, were up high, and that's something that I encourage owners to do at home, is have a space that is different from playing on the floor, but it's a space up high where they can get to grips with grooming their dog and brushing their dog out, so like a worktop or a table or top of a crate. That's something that you'll see across it all. But yeah, on the whole, I really liked it, and I think it has raised awareness. I think it's just a case of, if an owner comes to you and says, "I want this cut," you've got to be realistic in terms of your capabilities as a groomer. The dog's behaviour, how much maintenance they're prepared to put in, and when you look at a cockapoo, you can get a cockapoo that's traditional. So Indy, Selena's parents' dog, I don't know if you remember when we went to Country Fire Live a few years ago. No. We took Indy, and she's like one of the original cockapoos. She's absolutely stunning. She's got beautiful conformation, a beautiful coat, really, really pretty little dog, and she doesn't require that much brushing, because Selena's parents don't brush her, but she never has a nut on her. She has a really good diet, which diet plays a massive part. She is neutered, which also plays a massive part in your dog's quality of coat. She's walked on a lead because she walks really nicely, so she doesn't wear a harness. So she has limited areas of friction, but she's just got a 1 in a million coat. And I have another cockapoo like it as well, actually, that have a really nice wool coat that doesn't require the same level of maintenance. But when you're putting in sort of second, third generation cockapoos that look quite spaniely, I mean, you could put 10 cockapoos in a room and they would all look different. Even cockapoos from the same litter, I know, that are nothing alike. They have different temperaments, different coat types. So I think it's really a case of, you need to look at the whole picture of what the dog's coat like. Are they neutered? What are they fed? Because it plays up, like, you can smell the dogs that are fed on supermarket stuff without mentioning any names.
I hear you,
yeah. And also, your dog will tell you what they like and what they don't like in terms of food. And I don't want to preach about what people feed, because it's very much individual. And it's, as long as you can afford to feed your dog the best that you can afford to feed, then that's brilliant. I mean, mine are all on a cold press one now, which is actually the only thing that Cody eats. But their coats have changed so much, and they've got really nice, healthy, glossy coats again. And also, what goes in comes out.
Yeah.
And I can tell with Paddy, if I change his food,
hopefully not on the groomer's table.
Well, do you know what? Touch some wood. We're really lucky with that. We rarely have accidents on the table. Like, you see it on the groomers groups, and I'm like, oh, keep scrolling. I don't want to see that.
I don't know whether it was on TikTok or somewhere, but I remember this bulldog being in the groomer's bath, and he was being showered, and he, bless him, he wasn't happy about it, but he was and then the next bark he did, he fired out the back. I was like,
yeah. See, bulldogs as well. That's we always have to manage bulldog owners' expectations, because I know I've said about making them into humans, but they are like children, and there's so much of them, and they really don't like any part of being groomed. That with bulldogs now, and because they're brachycephalic, so squished for people that might not know that. They have terrible problems breathing. They get really stressed. Their tongues are rolled back. So now we have one that loves being groomed and we can't get her off the table. Like, come on, Molly, go, it's time to go. Yeah. But on the whole, we get them out of the bath and towel dry them, and we just say to people, look, your dog's going to be damp. I'd much rather a damp dog leave my salon than a stressed dog.
Yeah. And you know, it comes back to that happiness and that confidence of the dog, doesn't it? It's like coming back with this matting and stuff. Yes, the owner might be a little bit like, oh, that's not my dog. It's like really clipped short, but hair grows, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It does always grow back. And I had a conversation with a client a few weeks ago because they had a golden doodle, 9 months old, like proper teenager, really bouncy, really like bigger than Cody. He was enormous. Yeah, and he had to be clipped off. And although he came for a few puppy sessions, his behaviour on the table was like way out from what we'd expect from a dog that had been for puppy sessions. And like, but you have to shave him off because I can't let him go out. So, and that's not how we like to groom. Like, that's why we encourage it, and that's why we encourage regular appointments and the regular maintenance at home as well. Yeah. Like, when I'm sat on the sofa with Prim, because she's a tart, she'll jump on the sofa, roll over, stick a fanny in your face, with her feet in the air.
Like that.
Yeah. And whilst I'm there, she doesn't mind having her toes done and her nails done, but she prefers to do it for treats. So while she's there, I play with her feet most nights, and I'll pretend to clip her nails, and we give her tickles, and we have love. And she'll give you her paws, and she'll let you rub them, but she's still not keen on clippers and grinders and everything, which is something that we will work on. I mean, she's 3 now. We just keep working on these things. But it's handling them at home, and it's touching like under around their armpits and making sure that they are not free. But touching them all over, making sure that they're happy being handled, and that's something you can start from day dot with them, really. And even with rescues.
Don't rush it. Like, don't I've got to get you used to your feet being touched.
Yeah.
It's the quickest way to make more of a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and just don't make a big deal out of it. And if they are showing you undesirable behaviours, give them a break. Get them down off of wherever you're grooming them. Obviously, make sure they're safe if they're up high. Don't like walk off and make a cup of tea. Honestly, it's happened. Someone's like, oh, someone came to the door and just left my dog on the table. I was like, oh no, it needs to come down. But as soon as they're sort of showing you that they're a bit stressed or everything, there's a fine line between a puppy that wants to chase a brush and a puppy that's like, right, I've had enough now, I'm checking out. And that's why we're saying we do encourage people to have a licky mat there, to reward them, to only brush them whilst they've got the licky mat, and try and encourage that sort of positive reinforcement side of it. And I know that perhaps, show dog wise, you wouldn't be doing that with them, but
it's mainly owners on here, to be fair. Mainly, yeah.
It's
show people.
No, like we don't do any show dogs. I don't think. We have some from like display teams and agility teams and canicross. But in terms of competing in a ring, and it's not something we'd really offer. So I wouldn't say to someone, oh yeah, I'll bring you a poodle ready for ringcraft or whatever, because I know poodle specialists who do a far better job than I would.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, isn't it? And because of where they're going with the dog, and they're not taking them out on the country hikes and having good fun blowing in the puddles, paddling in the puddles.
There might be, like I know a lot of groomers and it's like the creative grooming battle, did you see any of the creative grooming on Pooch Perfect?
I literally watched 10 minutes, and whilst I was like, oh yeah, they're doing a nice job, I just saw the teddy bear cut on, and I was like, I'm like, a dog is, yes, they need grooming, but they don't need, it's like all of these colorant things that they put in. I watched something else, like probably at the start of the last lockdown, they were dyeing these poodles different colors, and I'm just like, what the fuck has the world come to? Like, that was my joke. Sorry if it was a good program, that's all I saw, and I was like, nah.
I do paint Prim's toenails every now and then.
I know,
but that's because people always say to me, oh, isn't he lovely? I'm like, she's a girl. So she has pink toenails every now and then and pink collar on. But to be fair, I don't have any objections to adding colour to a dog if the dog is happy being groomed. So like in terms of creative grooming, like there's some absolutely like sensational creative groomers out there whose dogs do live like an amazing life. They're still out adventuring and stuff, but it's I wouldn't just stick it in any dog willy-nilly. They'd have to be happy being groomed, content on the table. Like we have threatened to dye Indy's ears pink, Selena's mum's dog. We're like, let's try it on her because we've not done a black dog before. But yeah, I don't think Selena's dad would ever walk her again with pink ears.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know whether it's just a thing that I've always been like.
It's one of those things. It's like a love or hate thing.
Yeah, of course it is. It's a bit like Marmite, isn't it? And I suppose that can go for anything. Where was I? Well, I was going to ask you a question then. So, what are your top 3 tips for people who are perhaps listening to this with any dog? Doesn't matter what kind of dog, but like, what's your top 3 tips for helping a dog getting used to the groomers, especially more so like coming out of lockdown as well?
Yeah, I would say any good groomer, if you rang them and said, I'm having problems with my dog, or I want to get my dog used to the groomers, when you've got a quiet period, or can I book in for a 20-minute session of just me and my dog coming in? Some groomers might say no to that at the minute because of the rules. However, if you're wearing masks, and any proactive owner that messaged me and said that, I'd be like, yeah, please come in. So I had a shepherd puppy come in last week who is the biggest shepherd puppy I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God, I need to see that. Sorry.
I'll send you a picture of her. Called Kayla. She's very cute. Probably shouldn't have said that, but very cute. Just great big black bear. So yeah, I would contact a groomer before you've even got your puppy, see what they offer in terms of like introducing your puppy to the grooming salon. And it doesn't matter what breed it is, because at some point your dog's going to roll in fox poo and you're going to go, I would rather pay a groomer to get that off than get it off myself.
Yeah, don't you catch up, guys.
No, get a red dog.
Yeah.
Someone came to me the other day, she was like, oh sorry, it's just rolled in poo, so I didn't think I'd get it off because I knew it was coming here. I was like, thanks so much. Yeah, but it's a case of getting your dog used to it at the earliest opportunity. And any good groomer will say, yeah, come over, come in, have a look around, let your dog have a sniff about, because I don't think any groomer would say it's not important. Like, it's absolutely essential, I think.
It's part of the socialization, isn't it? You know,
absolutely. And I think that's the thing. People think that, like we've said so many times before, socialization is, oh, my dog's got 10 dog friends, not, oh, my dog can go to the groomers and happily be left for an hour and a half. And it's knowing your dog's limitations. So talk to your groomer about that. Talk to your groomer about your dog's lifestyle, which is one of the biggest things. So when we see a lot of matted doodles, I say sort of like, oh, what does your dog do? Oh, well, my dog loves playing in the river. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's fine. And that's brilliant that your dog has really nice stimulating walks, but we need to adjust the coat to what works, because if you haven't got the time to put into maintenance and brushing, and to be fair, who wants to? Like, I know I don't brush my shepherds enough. And I'm a groomer.
Yeah, I don't ever put a brush to my dogs until I start getting those fluffs, and then it tends to be a pluck in the hoover. So I'm well guilty of it. But like, I've got a client who's got a cockapoo called Jarvis, and I think she's pretty regular where she does it every day. But she's got the time to, you know, and but not everybody has they? So yeah, carry on.
No, that's the thing, and that's the thing you need to look at before you get in a puppy is, do you have the time? And if you're going to go out and pay £3 for a cockapoo puppy, you can't really sniff at 50 quid every 6 weeks for your dog being groomed. Probably more than that right now, because prices have gone mental. I can't believe, side note, that someone would have paid 1,200 quid for a Patterdale. I was like, no, this has got to be a joke. I know. I saw it, and that's top of the list, and I was like, why is Patterdale top of the list? A, who is mental enough to get one after having 2? Like, what are you doing paying that? Like, I think my first Patterdale a long time ago was 80 quid, and then Paddy from the Dogs Trust was 100.
Patton was 20. I think the most I've ever paid for a dog has been probably Hunter. He was about 600.
Yeah.
But yeah, the prices are stupid at the minute, aren't they?
It's madness. And I know there's a whole new conversation about breeding, and
yeah, we'll probably not
go into breeders. No, let's not go into that, because we'll be here till midnight. You'll be like, come on, I need my tea. What was I doing? Tips? Was that 2 tips?
You're getting them used to it and the lifestyle. So what sort of dog they're going to have, how often they need to go brush wise.
Yeah, and then obviously talk to your groomer about how you maintain your dog, because that's something we do try and cover as much as we can, but we kind of take it for granted that owners know how to do it. And obviously, if you don't know how to do it effectively, then you're not helping you or your dog. So do talk to your groomer about that. But also, if you're not able to do it at home, talk to your groomer as well, because again, you can't really expect a dog to come out looking incredible when the work's not being done at home. Like if you can't do sort of 10-15 minutes a few times a week, then we're not going to be able to work miracles in an hour or two. As much as I love a magic wand,
wand. Yeah. A barking dog fixed. I wish it's possible, but it's to get outstanding results, or just the results that you want in anything in life, whether that's dog training, whether that's grooming, whether that's goals you've got to work, you've got to do the work required, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of, like, with Prim's training and even Cody's training, like I fall off the wagon every now and then, you know, as soon as I get that scent pot out, she's like, yeah, game on, mum, let's do this. And she doesn't forget, like you said about what did they forget the other day? I've got a patted out right now.
There's the passage. Yeah. I heard you talking about him, Mum.
Right. He's the only one that can open the doors. The shepherds stand there like, how does this work? But he comes in for cuddles. But you have got to work at it with anything that you do with a dog, and I think people prioritise sort of doggy friends and other things over the basic needs of their dog. And grooming does fall under a basic need with food and everything else. It's a welfare thing, especially if you're getting a breed that's been designed. Like we're seeing more and more popular designer breeds that are mixed and have fancy pants names. When years ago they'd have just been down as a mongrel or crossbreed in your grooming book, and now they've got oodles and doodles and poodles and names.
I don't know what's coming into the class. I'm like, it's a Chihuahua.
Yeah. Okay. And sometimes people will say their breed, and I go, so do you know what that is? And it's when people say, got a pedigree cockapoo. I'm like, you haven't got a pedigree cockapoo. And I think there's just a massive lack of understanding, because there are unscrupulous people selling dogs, of what you're never going to get a kennel club registered crossbreed. I don't think. No, I've said that. No, you're not.
I don't know whether they registered the cockapoo as a breed, did they? Or did I?
No, because there was a bit of controversy over, I don't know if it's a cockapoo or a labradoodle, but they were going to make it a breed standard and then put them in a ring. You can tell me a black Labrador's a black Labrador.
Yeah.
But now I see some breeds and I go, oh, I'm not entirely sure what that's got in it.
Hey, I'm the same. I think we're going maybe a bit off topic there, but
yeah, probably. Sorry.
probably into a well.
Yeah. But yeah,
I totally understand.
When we're designing breeds, your grooming falls under a basic need, because like your shepherds and stuff, yeah, they molt, but that's part of their like coat cycle, and it's not nice to have around the house. But if they're in the wild, that's how their coat would work. I suppose we do bring in false moltings with heating and stuff, but
yeah, it's not going to be as detrimental. I mean, I'm probably saying this to cover my own arse now. If you look at Hunter when he's in full mode, he looks like a neglected dog, and I'm there plucking, like I literally have the Hoover here.
It's so satisfying.
And it goes up, but like no matter how much I do him, it's just right there. But I think there's a big difference between that and like this matting that we've spoken about, and because it can hurt, can't it?
Yeah, and people think like, oh, they're hypoallergenic, which a lot of them are marketed as. You can't guarantee that, because like I said, there's such a broad spectrum. I mean, some cockapoos do molt, but they think the hypoallergenic, so they don't need the maintenance, but because they're not shedding it, they still do need that brushing out at home, the clipping and everything, just to keep their coat nice and healthy, because the mat will prevent the coat from working effectively. So they can't sort of open their coat up if they're too hot, or trap their air in if they're too cold.
Right.
And again, we're going off again here, but when you're clipping off a matted dog and having a summer cut, because people like it to be a lot shorter in the summer, it can be detrimental because there's no protection then for the skin.
Yeah.
So like Paddy loves sunbathing and his belly will go full on brown in the summer. you can't tell what's coat and what's Paddy's belly. But yeah, obviously it can then impact on sort of health in the summer and stuff.
Yeah, Diggers is a sunbather. Like I say, I clipped him back. Like it's funny. The dogs have got a haircut before I have. Next time you see me on this podcast, guys, it's all going. But Digger likes to sunbathe, but for a bit. He kind of gets to a point where he's like 5-10 minutes, and he's like, I'm done.
I can't now. Is it? See, Paddy, we have to move. We have to go. Come on, mate, it's time to go in.
Right, yeah. Lily, on the other hand, she would bathe in it all day, and she's white. Obviously, she's got a coat, but she laps it up. And Hunter, funnily enough, Hunter.
Does he?
Yes, it's weird, isn't it? I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
now, you guys need to move. Whereas Digger will move itself.
Yeah, Cody won't sunbathe, but Prim loves it. But I think I shouldn't tell you this, she lays on the decking waiting for people to bark at. Stands there looking for people.
It's like, is that worth barking at?
Yeah.
Sky's been a bit of a bugger for that recently, but old dog, she can do what she wants. She's
yes, Paddy as well.
To it.
Yeah. Once they start, when he's trying to get on my ironing board now.
Hi, Paddy.
Hi.
Anna, thank you very much. It's been really, really insightful, actually, and I've learned a few things. It's been years since I've done grooming, and it was nowhere to a professional standard. It was, the kennel dogs have got piss on them, let's put them in the bathroom. You know what I mean? And the male dogs. So it's been really useful in learning more about that, and giving some people some tips as well to be able to move forward with it and help the dog learn to love the groomers.
Yeah.
Where is the best place for people to go to find out more about what you do? Because I know you had a group, didn't you, where you gave some tips and stuff?
Yes. So, that was like way back in the first lockdown, wasn't it? It's like over a year ago.
Still relevant though, are they? Still relevant? Don't.
Yeah, still relevant. Yeah, the videos are still in there. I don't think I've taken them out. So we have the Doghouse Uncut, which is our Facebook group. I'm a bit slack with putting things in there, if I'm honest. Or the Doghouse, the Doghouse Canine Spa on Facebook, or if you go to www.thedoghouseleicester.co.uk, I have an ebook on there, which is called Corona Notes for Curly Coats. So you can download that and have a read through, and I think it sort of covers the 5 sort of main things that will help you to get started. But any queries or anything, if people want to drop me an email, then that's fine.
Yeah, and I think it would be really useful for people to do. Well, thank you very much, my lovely. It's been a pleasure chatting to you as always. Let's not leave it so long next time.
I know, definitely. We still need to meet up and go for like a dog walk or a drink.
Yeah, definitely. Would you believe the lockdown? I no longer drink and I no longer smoke.
My God, you're a changed woman.
I know. I've become a right boy, and I look like a hippie. I've become a right boring side, but I would make an exception if you came up. You might.
Well, I can't drink at the minute anyway. We'll go for lime and sodas.
Of course you can't. Yeah, of course you can't.
Lime and soda it is.
Yeah, lime and soda. Let's just go for the experience.
Yeah, just go for a chat.
Perfect. Right. Well, we'll leave it there. Hope you've enjoyed the show, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've got any comments or feedback on it, let us know. That's more for YouTube, but obviously on the Uber Barking Mad not to. I don't know whether you can leave comments or not, but subscribe. And we'll leave it there. Thank you again. Ciao for now.
See you soon.